Former Manchester United and Australia player says that Ange Postecoglou will be staying at Celtic, he reckons. We'll talk about that in a minute. Two former Celtic players talk about the fact that Ange Postecoglou has won 4 trophies already, and they say that if Celtic play their best, they will win the game at the weekend. And what about Hearts? What are Hearts playing at? I mean, I know they had the reduced allocation. Celtic will be getting 1,264 tickets. The time that you take away the corporate ticket allocation, there's probably only going to be about 900 Celtic fans will get into the game against Hearts. So tell me your thoughts on that. And it's always good to get your comments on the videos. It's funny because I've seen both sides of it. You can see people that actually go to games commenting and people that really don't go to games, and you can tell that the big difference in the comments. Anyway, back to the Australian legend that says that Ange Postecoglou probably stay at Celtic this summer. The Australian legend that is Mark Bosnich. Mark Bosnich obviously played for Manchester United in the 89 to 1991 seasons. He's been talking about Ange Postecoglou, and he basically says, after playing for the likes of Man United and Chelsea, he says, I've nothing but good things to say about Ange Postecoglou. He went on to say, he says, it's a wonderful thing being at Celtic, you can learn a lot. He says he's basically reinvented the wheel and played football. They're playing a type of football that Celtic have never seen before. He says it's always a learning curve when you go into the Champions League. It was the first time in the Champions League in 5 years, and I think when we look back on last year's Champions League, it was a bit of a disappointment, but it was a young squad, and it was basically the manager's first time in the Champions League, and these players, a lot of their time, it was the first time that they'd even played in the Champions League. He went on and said, he says playing in the Premier League is a big draw, but the longer he stays at Celtic, the higher he will go and the bigger club that will come in for him. He says he will want to be playing in the Champions League. That's where he really wants to be. He's not going to leave a club like Celtic and then go to a mid-table team down in England that's nowhere near the Champions League. He wants to be testing himself at the highest level. That was Mark Bosnich. So next up were the two former Celtic players that have been speaking about the game at the weekend. It is Thursday today. We are getting closer to the game this weekend. Former Celtic forward John Hartson, who obviously got to the UEFA Cup final in 2003, and John won about 6 trophies in his time at Celtic Park. He says that Ange has been at the club and won 4 trophies already in less than 2 years. He's been remarkable. I hear him talking about replicating what other managers have done in terms of trebles. That is great for teams over the years. He wants to be a manager to do that with us and this current Celtic team. He basically went on to say, John Hartson says, if Celtic turn up, they will win this weekend. If Celtic turn up and Rangers turn up, they play their best, we play our best, Celtic will win, he said. Next up is the madman who is Frank McAvenny. Frank McAvenny, obviously, that magical moment back in 1988 where he scored the Scottish Cup, and he scored a double in the Scottish Cup if I remember correctly. He says, he also went on to say, if Celtic turn up and play their best to their ability and Rangers play their best to their ability, Celtic will win. I think Celtic have better players, says Frank McAvenny. A lot depends on the pitch, because the last time for the last cup game the pitch was terrible, so hopefully they can get that sorted. It'll be a good game and a good advert for Scottish football. So what do you think will happen this weekend? What do you think the result will be? I'm obviously going for a Celtic win. I think Celtic will win. If we turn up and play our best, we will win. It's as simple as that. Mark Bosnich says that Ange Postecoglou will stay at Celtic, and for the reasons given, that he wants to be testing himself as a manager at the highest level. So what do you think about that? Ange Postecoglou tipped to stay at Celtic this summer. I've been saying it for weeks now. On that note, have a great day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up